Subagency, what in the world is it? If I was to ask any agent in Texas today, I bet I would get different answers across the board. So, boom. What is subagency? Welcome to Mondays with Micah. I'm Micah. And today, the elusive, the myth, the legend, subagency. What is it? Nobody knows. Everybody thinks it's something different, something weird. Let's stay away from it. Let's fear subagency. Today, you no longer have to fear the unknown. It is going to be known to you. Now, here's what subagency is. If you remember these 3 facts about subagency, you know all there is to know. Well, let's figure it out here. First fact about subagency, there are always 2 brokerages involved. Yes, 2. There are always 2 different brokerages involved. Case in point, 123 Realty and ABC Realty. 2 different brokerages. Got it. Now, second thing is, one of those brokerages is working with a buyer customer. Yes, a buyer who has not signed a buyer representation agreement, who is not under an oral representation agreement, someone who said, you know what, I don't need representation, I don't want representation, or maybe the broker themselves do not represent buyers. Either way, it is a buyer customer, not a client, an unrepresented buyer. Now, so let's put our stuff on here. We have an agent on the board. He works for 123 Realty. He is working with the buyer customer, not a client, customer, unrepresented. The third fact here, all brokerages owe their fiduciary duties to the seller. What? Really? Yes. Yeah, here's why. We have ABC Realty over here, and we have an agent, B, who, keyword, represents a seller. Therefore, that seller is a client. That seller is a client who has a listing agreement in place with ABC Realty. Now, let's look at our checkoffs. 2 brokerages. Boom, boom. We have a buyer customer who is being helped, being aided by one of these brokerages. Boom, buyer customer. No buyer rep in place. No representation agreement. And the third thing is, why in the world do all of these brokerages and agents have to owe their fiduciary duty to the seller? Here's why. In some states will allow you to sit in the middle and not represent either party. Not in Texas. That's not how we roll. In Texas, in a real estate transaction, you have to represent either the buyer or the seller. And in the case of subagency, the buyer has said, I don't want representation, so by default, this other broker is now a subagent to the seller because that's the only other party. And in Texas, you must represent a party in a real estate transaction. So now this brokerage and its agent goes underneath this seller. He already has his own agent. They become a subagent to the seller and must owe all of their fiduciary duties to the seller. Therefore, this buyer can only receive honesty and fairness. So Micah, why do brokers offer 0% or sometimes a lesser percent of commission to subagents? Well, that's because in a court of law, for you to be able to sue someone, there has to be a written agreement. Well, My friends, there's no written agreement over here if you don't represent the buyer. There's no written buyer rep, no representation to speak of. The only one is over here with the seller. So if this agent messes up, if this buyer decides to sue someone, he is going to sue the seller and he's going to sue the listing broker. There's a lot of liability. That's why this listing broker is responsible for a subagent, and many times his E&O insurance only covers his own. So the liability is why subagency is not as popular. I told you, you were gonna be pros. You got the three things, you got it, subagency. Go out and spread the news, because education's where it's at. The more educated you are, the better agent you're gonna be and the more successful you're gonna be. We'll see you on the next installment of Mondays with Micah. Why does real estate education have to be boring? It doesn't have to. Real estate education can be fun. It can be hilarious. It can be a blast. And you know where it is a blast? Right here on LOL Lessons in Real Estate YouTube channel. Right here, you can subscribe and get notifications every time awesome new videos drop. Boom. Join us. LOL Lessons in Real Estate. It's the most fun you'll ever have learning about real estate, I promise.